A blizzard roared across the runways like a living beast, swallowing the night in white. Inside Terminal C of the Chicago O'Hare International Airport, people huddled under fluorescent lights, trembling phones in hand, waiting for updates that never came. Flights canceled, highways closed, no way in or out, and among them stood Victoria Hale, a respected CEO known for her poised elegance and ice-cold confidence, now clutching her 6-year-old son Mason like a lifeline. The snowstorm hadn't just grounded her jet, it had cornered her in a place where she could no longer control the world around her. She didn't know yet that this night would upend her entire life, unravel a hidden crime, and place her trust in the hands of a stranger, a single dad named Carter Reeves, whose homemade signs would expose a criminal hiding in plain sight. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us reach more hearts and keep creating stories that matter. Victoria's phone buzzed with urgent emails from her board. She was supposed to be in Seattle by morning for a merger signing worth millions. Now she was stuck in an airport full of frightened passengers and exhausted staff. Mason buried his face in her coat, whispering that he was scared. Victoria whispered back that everything would be okay, though she didn't believe her own words. She hadn't held her son like that in months. Work had swallowed her whole, and Mason had learned to measure her love in business hours and boarding passes. Around them, the atmosphere cracked with tension. A few passengers complained loudly. Others prayed. A woman sobbed near Gate 12, desperate to get home for her mother's surgery. A man in uniform stared through the glass, his fist trembling at the sight of the storm. Victoria felt helpless. She hated feeling helpless, but when Mason's voice trembled again, she softened, pulling him closer. For once, the world walled her in instead of the other way around. Carter Reeves noticed her first. He wasn't looking for a CEO or a headline, just a mother with tired eyes. He was a single dad with a calm smile and a gift for reading people. His daughter, Nora, sat beside him coloring, unaware that her father was quietly scanning the room. Carter had worked years as a behavioral sign language interpreter and studied human microexpressions. It made him unusually observant. He noticed things others ignored, tiny signals, nervous gestures, patterns that whispered stories. Victoria watched him hold out a thermos of hot cocoa for anyone who wanted it. His hands were rough, nails worn, like someone who'd worked hard his whole life. When Mason looked longingly at the cup, Carter walked over and offered him some gently, reassuring Victoria that it was sealed and safe. His voice had warmth, a texture like worn denim in autumn sunlight. Still, she hesitated before accepting. CEOs don't trust easily, especially not stranded ones. But tonight, the world felt upside down. She nodded. Mason sipped, and his face brightened slightly. Hours passed. Victoria tried to distract Mason with stories about Seattle, pretending the storm was just an inconvenience, not a threat. But Carter's eyes were fixed on someone else, a nervous man near the vending machines. The man's jacket was too thin, his shoes too dry for someone who'd come from the storm. He kept glancing at the exits and tensing every time security walked by. Carter watched him the same way a chess player studies a dangerous move on the board. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Meanwhile, Mason tugged on Victoria's sleeve, asking why the police dog kept stopping near the luggage area. Victoria hadn't noticed, but Carter had. The same man kept shifting whenever the dog passed. Carter felt his heartbeat pick up. He'd seen similar patterns before when interpreting for law enforcement cases. The signs were small but unmistakable. He leaned closer to Victoria, telling her quietly to stay alert but not alarm Mason. She stiffened. That cold wall of distrust snapped right back up. Who was this man? Why should she believe him? Then, as if destiny had cued the moment, a gate agent's voice crackled over the speakers, alerting everyone to stay where they were. Airport security had detected a serious threat inside the terminal. Whispers turned to gasps. The nervous man bolted toward the emergency exit, dropping a metal case. Security rushed after him, The dog barked wildly. The case clicked open as it skidded. Inside lay stacks of passports, dozens, different identities, a human trafficking document cache. Victoria froze. Her breath vanished as she realized what could have happened if Carter hadn't seen the signs first. If that man had boarded a plane, if no one had noticed. The airport descended into controlled chaos. Officers escorted the man away in handcuffs. The crowd erupted in shocked chatter, people suddenly aware of how close they'd been to a criminal operating in their midst. And amid the confusion, Victoria realized her son was holding Carter's hand, not hers. Security questioned Carter, asking how he knew. He explained calmly about the signs he noticed, his training, the inconsistencies. Officers nodded with respect. Victoria watched, absorbing every detail. She felt something unfamiliar in her chest. Admiration, maybe gratitude, maybe guilt that her first instinct had been distrust. She realized she wasn't just stranded in this airport, she was stranded in her life. She had built walls around her heart so high that even her own child stood outside. When Carter returned, Nora hugged him. Victoria stepped forward awkwardly, thanking him in a voice that wobbled on the edges of sincerity. He smiled and shrugged like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. In a night where power meant nothing, humanity meant everything. Hours later, temporary sleeping mats were laid out. Mason slept with his head on Victoria's lap. She smoothed his hair and thought about all the times she'd chosen boardrooms over bedtime stories. She watched Carter read a picture book to Nora under emergency lights. She wondered how someone could be broken by life and still hold on to so much gentleness. Near dawn, when the storm eased, flights resumed slowly. Victoria's jet would be ready soon. She stood, holding Mason, and walked to Carter and Nora. She didn't know how to say what she felt. She only knew she didn't want this lesson to melt away like snow. She promised herself that Mason would never again feel like a layover in her life. She asked Carter to teach her some of the signs he used, curious about seeing the world the way he did, through gestures, patterns, and humanity. As she boarded later, she looked back through the gate windows and saw Carter helping a frail old man with luggage. He didn't notice her watching, and maybe that was the point. Some heroes don't need an audience. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that matter. Before the ending, please comment. I believe in second chances. It helps our channel grow and spreads kindness. Victoria closed her eyes on the flight. The world was quiet. The storm was gone. But the impact remained like fresh tracks in snow. She felt changed, not by fear, but by the realization that she could rewrite her life, starting now. She held Mason as the plane rose into the morning sky, every cloud beneath them a reminder that storms can trap you, or free you. And in that moment, somewhere between the snow and the sun, she chose freedom.